Welcome back to another episode of Thanks for the Consult. As always, I'm Fior. We have with us Aaron,
Hello.
and today's guest we have Dan. How you doing, buddy?
Good, good.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for
Dan
coming
the
on.
man?
That is his legal government name.
Dan the
I
man.
don't know if we want to put that out there though. Uh, but for those of you that don't know Dan, he's currently a supervisor for Shaler Hampton EMS. Spent a lot of time in Indiana County. Um, so he's got an interesting perspective from the more rural to the suburban, bordering urban environments and EMS as a whole. So hopefully we'll get some pretty cool, unique perspectives today. But before we dive into anything super crazy, Dan, one of the more important questions that we ask everybody is, what is your favorite style of IV catheter? Um, Mainly focusing on occluding, self-occluding versus non-self-occluding.
I'm probably going to be a one-off with this one. I like the little short ones that you get from AHN or AGH, and I don't care if they occlude or don't occlude. I
Short
forget
one,
the,
like
the, the what's that?
the old Gelcos.
Yes, like the shorter, like doesn't have the button. We're not talking like a dart.
Yeah,
I learned on those, and like if I'm in the back of your ambulance helping you out, I'm going to be like, "Do you have a short catheter?" So I'm not gonna. But occluding versus self-occluding, or non-occluding, it doesn't matter to me. I could care less. I mean, I've made messes out of people, and
yeah,
I've just it's kind of I don't know. I just
yeah,
prefer that size more than
yeah,
anything.
I
yeah.
agree with that. It feels like using a pool stick
Yes.
whenever it's too long.
Yep.
I will say, like, if you ever walk up to me in the middle of a car and be like, "Hey, do you have a short one?" I'm gonna probably be offended. Um, but interesting. So you're literally on the fence. You don't care if it occludes or
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yep.
That's been a point of contention for me and Aaron for some time, because I prefer the self-occluding, um, just because it's one less thing or one more feature to kind of help keep things going. And he's like, nope, I missed one once, so they're the devil.
Kids kids these days, like they need all the fancy gadgets and equipment and there's something about just doing it old school. Like, can you get an automated vehicle that, it automatically shifts and does all that for you? That's nice, but there's something about putting it in first gear and stepping on the gas?
hmm Yeah, I mean, I think a point of information here, I believe I'm the oldest one on currently.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You might be.
well, I think I might be. So,
Hearsay, irrelevant, objection,
oh, you said these kids. So
objection.
overruled, I guess. Um, so Dan, what coming from Indiana County to Allegheny County, what are some of the things that you noticed? Like, were there any major hurdles kind of jumping from that system? Because I know, like, I work in Allegheny and Butler County, and there's just like there's nothing majorly huge, but there's like little things that it's like, why can't we all just do it the same way? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I think the biggest adjustment for me was probably the dispatching. It is so different in the radio comms, the radio communications. In Indiana and Armstrong County, you're calling the county and you're like Indiana County medic whatever, and then you pause and then you let them answer you, and like there's this exchange back and forth. Or how in Allegheny County, you just hop on there and you're like, hey, squad, whatever's en route, and you don't give them an opportunity. And the CAD. I will admit fully that I am still learning how to use the CAD correctly for all of its features and the things that you do. Again, in Indiana and Armstrong, and we covered some of Westmoreland when I was there. There was no CAD. Like you had this like little Swiss phone pager, and it would display some text on there. Um, and that was really it. And you wrote everything down on a clipboard. So
Yeah,
those things I would say, and then just some of the decision making. You literally have everything at your fingertips in Allegheny County. You're 15 minutes from cardiac specialty, cancer specialty, OB, whatever you want, trauma centers.
yeah,
Um, And, up here, you really were thinking like, okay, well, if I've got a bad trauma, or even let's say like a massive stroke, it's not something that a primary can't take care of. You start counting minutes, and you're thinking about how long for a helicopter, and what's the ETA going to be, and are they really going to be 13 minutes, or is it going to be 27 minutes? So do we try to race that clock on our own? Um, and up here too, I would say like you're on your own a lot of the
Yeah.
time. And I feel like that that is a big difference for all providers. I mean, look at where Shaler Hampton sits. You can call one of the neighboring services, their supervisors on.
Hmm.
You can call 955. You can call 267 when they're on duty and available. So there was a lot. There was a lot to learn, and just I think it was more changing just the train of thought that
Yeah.
that went with it. So
That makes sense. So you're learning the CAD still, but are you a fan? It's like I'm a
I am
huge
actually.
fan of the CADs.
Yeah,
Oh my god! Like,
yeah,
because I work, like I said, I work in Butler. They don't have a CAD.
yeah.
Work in
I am.
Allegheny. Oh, I love the CAD.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. I like being able to see what's going on, the caller's name, what
Yeah,
details we got, who else is assigned to it, seeing what other units are up to, just to kind of keep yourself apprised of the situation in the North Zone, to say the least.
yeah,
But yeah, I am a fan. I like it
yeah.
definitely, and it saves so much time. And
Uh,
especially for your PCR, when you can just import all that information, and you're not,
hmm.
you know,
Oh
sitting
yeah,
there screwing around trying to write stuff down and manually punch things in. It's just
oh
awful.
yeah, yeah. Well, Aaron and I were talking yesterday about, like, he was saying something about the CAD, and then how do we get to? Oh, we are talking about the monitors needing to connect. So they're getting modems or something. So why don't you just connect it to the jetpack or the cradle point you have in your
Cradle point.
truck? And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Well, how's your CAD work in your truck?" He's like, "Why would the CAD be in the truck? That's at the station." I'm like, "What? What is happening?" Like, I was just like so confused that, like, we have a CAD, but it's not in the truck. I'm like, "No, I don't like
That's
this."
yeah.
Yeah, if you need information, we just like call into the dispatch center, or like some of us have the web link on our phone.
Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, it's definitely different. I'm sure everybody knows at this point, I came from a more urban environment for a while. And then, I've always done suburban stuff. That's where I started my career. But now doing some rural stuff, it is different, man. Like you kind of, you got to have respect for the guys that are out there just doing it with no backup, you know,
Thank you.
well, except you. Uh,
I appreciate your expression of gratitude for my service.
yeah. Thank you for your service, buddy.
Th- Thank you.
But no, you're right. It's a totally different world. Um, because, weather, is a concern, and the helicopters aren't flying. And then all of a sudden, you have to make that, what would be an hour drive down to Pittsburgh, maybe, is now 2 hours because the roads are covered in snow. And then, hey, is it best for this patient to take them to a lower level care, but get there sooner, or is it worth risking getting down to the city? You got a lot more to think about. Where, like you said, up in the north hills of Pittsburgh, it's, yeah, I can be at AGH in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I could be at Presby in 10 or 15 minutes. Like, you don't really have to think about it. It's just like, biggest question you have is like, who's your insurance through? So I
Yeah.
take you to the right hospital. When in doubt, just go to one of the two, as they call them, the motherships for the health systems. Like I'm not sure, so we're just going to the big one. But that's not really a viable option all the time out there where you guys are used to running. So thank you for your service, Aaron, and my hat is off to you, Dan. So you've worked obviously for two different services there. I'm sure you've probably been to a couple places in your career, but have you noticed a difference in, like, medical direction, like what you're allowed to do versus not allowed to do? 'Cause obviously there's even, you could have two services that are neighbors that are on two different medical commands, or even on the same system but with different medical directors. And there's a little bit of difference, but like, I can tell you from going from county to county, there's like vast differences that I've noticed, but they're neighboring counties. So I'm wondering, coming from 4 or 5 counties away to here, like what's your experience like with that?
So, yeah, huge differences. And it's funny. I've had this conversation a couple times with people, and we talked about it, especially old friends and colleagues that are still up here. That it's crazy to me because it's different at Shaler, Hampton, and some of these other services close by to us there, where we have access to a lot of training, a lot of education. We have the presence of not only our medical director who is involved and on calls, and like he just appears, which is awesome. You can see the guy come out of nowhere. And if it's not him, I mean, you might get another physician from somewhere. You have the EMS fellow, but the involvement level is just so much more with the with being at Shaler Hampton. I mean, you really have that resource at your fingertips. And what comes with it is, higher, I don't want to say a higher performance level, but a higher standard and expectation, that you're going to learn these things. You're going to learn how to you're going to intubate every patient with video laryngoscope. That's just something that doesn't happen in a lot of the rural communities. And a lot of it has to do with the equipment and inability to get the equipment and everything. But you look at the stuff we can do that that I wish places like Indiana and Armstrong County could do. We're talking about things like, you know, TXA for these massive bleeds, or maybe antibiotics for these open fractures, and maybe a little more aggressive pain management for the patients, and let's even something as simplistic as, let's say, like droperidol. So you got these two like dual action drugs that you can utilize that would
Yeah.
benefit. You know, I look at it and I'm so thankful that I've had the opportunity to learn and I see what these things can do for people. But like we were just saying, like you're
Yeah.
talking 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we're rolling in the door of AGH. You've got
Hmm.
a trauma team, you've got some of the best physicians in the world wherever you
Hmm.
go.
Yeah.
Um, and up here, it's it's tough for me to kind of like explain to people that like you would benefit, your patient would
Hmm.
benefit so much, because if you're in northern Indiana County or Armstrong County and you've got a massive trauma, maybe, I mean, just recently here, I know paying attention to some of the stuff going on still. Let's say the patient who was an Amish buggy versus a car.
Yeah.
We got open fractures, we've got mass bleeding, we've got these things, and you're waiting, like you said, you're waiting on helicopters, and you could maybe just zip them over to Indiana and try to get things stabilized, but now you're just delaying the process.
Yeah.
But if you can start that stuff in the field,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I think it is fantastic that we do the things that we do at Shaler
Yeah.
Hampton. We train for it.
Yeah.
But I would love to find a way to bring that back. And I do think it has to do with the medical directors. They've got to be up to date. They've got
Yeah.
to be on point. They have to be involved, and they've got to be present. Like, you shouldn't be meeting your medical director for the first time, like when you get orders as a paramedic. They should know who you are. They should know the organization. And I do think that there's great value in them just showing up.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because in most cases that I've noticed, like these medical directors and even the fellows, they're not showing up to judge you or showing up to question you. They're there to provide support.
Yeah.
And it builds confidence in the provider. And then
Absolutely.
afterwards they come back to the station, you sit down, you have coffee, you get lunch, you're hanging out, and you can have like an actual in-depth conversation about like what was really going on with that
Yeah.
patient.
Yeah.
You're not
That's immensely valuable.
Yeah.
Immensely.
And
Yeah.
I just, I feel like the communities in these lesser served areas that are further away, spread out, they're already waiting a long time for an ambulance. I feel like that would just take the care to the next level to have something like that available.
I mean, you
But
could argue that they would benefit more from some of the more advanced or specialty stuff that we're doing in Allegheny County further
oh,
out,
absolutely.
because we're getting it started and that's great. But, you know, getting it started 10 minutes sooner versus an hour sooner.
An hour
You know what I
sooner,
mean?
absolutely.
You're getting way more benefit from it in the long term, getting it started, an hour early. So, you know, yeah. And
You just described my exact situation, Dan. Like
Okay,
to a
fill me in.
T. That's like literally everything you said is exactly the situation where I'm at. Like uh, the only time that most of our staff has been around our medical director is at the annual skills review. Um, the only drugs that we carry in our drug bag are the ones that are licensure required. Um, and we've discussed like wanting to do TXA. So we are 45 minutes from a level 3 trauma center and an hour away from a level 1 trauma center, none of which have a thrombectomy capable or comprehensive stroke center. Like we're Pittsburgh is I think the closest, which is like 2 hours away. Helicopters like cancel on me regularly, which is crazy. We have a major interstate, two major interstates, of very heavily traveled, just like state road Route 30. Like the Turnpike is one of our interstates, and also a racetrack that's like dirt bike quad racing where we have like injuries weekly, like,
super
and
high
we
probability of traumatic
Yeah,
injury.
yeah, it's gonna
so
happen.
like so like you look at the criteria, right, for like who would be a service that would benefit from things like ANSEF, TXA, right? How about somebody who is far away from a trauma center, has difficulty getting their medical, who has a high probability for high mechanism injuries in multiple different ways? Like it's so crazy to me, and like we can't get them to let us use it.
Yeah. Yep, and it's crazy because it's in the protocols. It's not like you're stepping outside of some, like, certain box, it's already there. It literally comes down to, like, and I think in these cases, whenever it's there and it just comes down to the do they not want to invest in the training and education? Are they worried that it's gonna be a cost? Are they concerned that, that or maybe, and I don't know what services, you work at or have worked at, or are they just trying to bring it down that instead of the standard is here for everybody, we're just going to bring that standard down here for our lowest performer because we don't want them to be put in a situation where they could make a mistake. And
Well,
that's one of the,
you'd have to know who your lowest performer is in order to make a decision like that.
this is true. This is true. So th- does that make sense though? Like
Oh
I just,
yeah. Yeah, but the thing that's crazy to me, Aaron, what you're saying, like the meds that they don't let you carry are like stuff that by and large is relatively low negative outcome if given and not needed. But like, if you give somebody, for example, if you give Versed instead of droperidol to, sedate somebody, if you give too much Versed, they stop breathing. If you give too much droperidol, I mean, you'd have to really go overboard before you have anything other than they're asleep and not nauseous. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's just like they'll let you have like the really dangerous stuff, but not like the fairly safe stuff. Like,
I have two pain management options, which is ketorolac and fentanyl.
which like
you
Yeah.
know,
you guys would benefit so immensely from ketamine because it
And all these
lasts a
long
lot
bone injuries,
longer
dude.
and man.
All these long bone injuries too, fentanyl doesn't touch it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep, yeah,
Well,
and that's. I was afraid of ketamine, to be honest. Like that was like we had it at Citizens as I was leaving, and I was like, "Oh, it's the no drug." And I get down to Allegheny County, and like we just get this like non-traumatic back pain. This guy's got a history, and the medic that I was backing up on the call, I think he called me for like lifting assistance more than anything. Like
yeah.
we do this little drip, and this guy, like, just instantly relief, stood up. He was humorous. He was definitely feeling pretty good, but it was amazing. Like this guy could not move. You're talking a grown man in good physical shape that was in tears, and we give him like 30 milligrams in this drip, and it was life changing for that guy.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, just to get him to the hospital, it was
Yeah.
unbelievable. Like why put these people through so much distress? And I mean, I'm not saying every patient needs that level, but you're right. You get like a fractured femur. and or a bone sticking out or somebody's ankles on backwards and you just give them some fentanyl, it might work for a few seconds, but it's not going to get you that long-term relief and help them relax and even mentally relax in those situations. And that's one of the
Yeah,
biggest parts.
absolutely. And I think I notice when I work with you down at Shaler Hampton, if I need pain control, I'm usually going with fentanyl just because I'm so much closer to the hospital. Um, that like by the time I get the ketamine out, make up the drip, get it going, like I could give them some fentanyl, be at the hospital, and then get some more pain control there. But like when I'm up in Butler County, like ketamine's pretty much a frontline. Like that's one of my first options for pain control because I have a 30-40 minute transport time. I want that to last. I don't want to keep dosing you with fentanyl, So it lasts a lot longer, but and I mean the other point of it, like you do get to see some funny things with it too.
Yeah.
Like I had this little old lady who her shoulder was clearly dislocated. Like super skinny, malnourished looking old lady. So you can see like every bone is just like everything's out. And she's allergic to everything I got. So I'm like, all right, well, I got ketamine. So we're gonna do it. So I gave her ketamine. She's like, why do I feel so crazy? I'm like, oh, it's the medication, dear. She's like, I feel like a ninja. And then she tries to karate chop me and reduces her own dislocation. I was like, oh, they're gonna look at me like I'm crazy when I walk into the hospital because I'd already called
Oh
reports that
my
like
god.
obvious dislocation, gave ketamine, and then walk in there like, I thought you said this was an obvious dislocation. I'm like, it was when I called. She felt like a ninja and reduced her own dislocation, and
Well,
she's fine.
that's spectacular. Oh man.
But she wasn't in any pain. She fixed her own problem. Like it's a great medication
And
for
she
sure.
started a new occupation
As a ninja.
as a ninja.
That nursing home will never be the same now that
Oh man.
Ninja Granny's on patrol.
Oh.
But, no, I think if you use the right med for the right application, like, you can do a lot of good. I've said this before, probably to both of you, but, like, I think that instead of dumbing down the protocols for the lowest common denominator, you need to figure out how to get your people to be good medics, and if they can't, then your medical director needs to be like, "Hey, until you figure this out, you're not gonna be a paramedic," because, you know, I I don't want half-ass medicine being done in the field. I want good medicine being done to help affect change on these, sick and injured people, so
No, absolutely, and I think one of the things too is, you've gotta give your people the tools to be successful in that. Whether that's more training and education, maybe it's just a conversation, maybe it's, y just put a little something out, like
yeah.
we last year we did a lot of excuse me,
You're
a lot of
excused.
little trainings, um, on Planet, and they were like
Yeah,
15 minutes, like 20
yeah,
minutes, half an hour, like maybe a couple of links to a YouTube video,
yeah.
and just that stuff to get someone to think a little bit more, it makes a difference, and I
Oh,
think you
absolutely.
provide them with the tools, it gets them a little more confidence, and sometimes too, I think, like, some of these newer providers, like, and it's crazy to me because I did registry, I keep my registry,
Yeah,
I've had it for a long time, but, like, I see the information that these kids are coming out of these classes with and this knowledge and this background, and it's mind-blowing. They just need a little bit of, like, confidence, a little moral support, if you will, like,
yeah,
hey, like, Dan or somebody standing in the wheel well,
yeah,
just watching you treat that patient and making sure you feel comfortable with it. Um, yeah, and I
yeah,
think that that makes the difference too. Like, just help them get over that little bit of a hump to wanna
yeah,
do more, to wanna take it to the next step or the next level without fear. When
yeah,
and if they are afraid, you're there to help them. I'm
yeah.
sure you see that in those response units.
Oh, yeah.
Um, sometimes it's, the patient's sick, you're really not needed, but you're there for,
Mhm.
someone to bounce an idea off of or to
Yeah,
discuss the best way to go about something, and I think that helps, and that does make better providers down the line when they can feel
yeah.
confident.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely I agree. I mean, I know, I was somebody at Shaler Hampton. Uh, they were precepting for orders. They'd finished class, everything. They're precepting for orders. Um, and like you could tell the difference in like they could have the same call with me or this with somebody else, but like you could tell the difference in like their level of calm and like based on who was with them. And I think it's that education stuff. I think if they're afraid they're going to get berated for making a mistake versus like, I'm very much like when you're precepting for orders, like I'm going to be there to stop you from killing them. If you have any questions and you want some guidance, I'm there, but I'm letting you run your call. You know what I mean? You tell me what you want me to do. As long as you're not doing something that's going to kill the patient, I'm not gonna interfere. You know what I mean?
Yep,
And
absolutely.
like that builds their confidence. And then afterwards, they're like, "Hey, is there anything you would have done different?" And it's like, sometimes it's like, "Hey, maybe I would have, but it doesn't mean the way you did it was wrong. It just that's the way I would have done it." You know? Uh, and we had this conversation last night, Aaron and I, with some other folks that like you can. I was with somebody who's an EMT that's thinking about going to paramedic class, so they've been reading the paramedic book,
Yeah,
which
yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
yeah.
We had some questions. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had some questions and we're talking about it. And so me, Aaron, and another person there that's a paramedic. And he's like, okay, so what about this scenario? And all three of us gave like a slightly different answer. He's like, well, which one's right? I was like, all three of them. Like, it's just a
No, I
matter
think
of
we did objectively determine that mine was the most correct.
absolutely not.
I
I
think
mean,
I think
well,
it is. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like that find your flow kind of thing as a paramedic,
yeah,
like, what works for you, as long as you get the job done and you're comfortable with how it's going, then that's
yeah,
cool, as long as you stay within your guidelines. But that's one of the things too, like, I think I've noticed with younger people like that, as somebody who's wanting to be a paramedic or learn about it, like, you gotta develop your own processes and your thought process, because if you don't have your own, you get confused and you start to panic and you're like, "Oh, what would Fior do?
yeah,
What would Dan do? What would this person do?" And, like, you just gotta find yourself,
yeah, oh
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
definitely makes a difference.
And I know, like, kind of on that in that vein, like a lot of times, like the students up at the school that are in class are like, "Hey, can I precept with you guys?" I'm like, "You can, but like, you hear us tell you the way we would do it every week. Go out and precept with somebody else that's going to teach you a slightly different way, or you might learn a different trick or tip that works better for you. Like, yeah, you can absolutely come right around with me, but um, I think you're kind of um, robbing yourself of like the full educational experience by not going and you know riding with somebody that you don't listen to tell you their way of doing it.
Weekly, what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, Aaron, your thoughts on the matter?
No thoughts. You summed it up perfectly. I just know that I'm right.
Wait, what? You're
I
right,
just
but I summed it up. How does that work?
You, well, you summarized it pretty well. I was just thinking about how, we had those three different situations, that we described and how mine was the most correct. I was kind of going back through in my mind, and I know that you said that we didn't agree to that, but I do know that you be having amnesia issues. For those of you who don't know, um, thank you for the consult. It's been going through, some tough times recently with Fior's amnesia. Um, we ask that you all keep him, in your thoughts and prayers. He does have a difficult time remembering conversations. Like the other day, he did tell me he was going to give me $5,000. He doesn't
Did
remember it.
did he?
He doesn't remember it. So keep him in your thoughts and prayers. We really care about him, and we hope the best. I'm just trying to, be a guiding light for him to try to keep him on track with his memory, but it's very difficult sometimes.
As he ages, it's probably going to get worse. He is
Yeah,
the most elder individual here right now, so
right. That's true.
I'll have to keep an eye on him. I was unaware of these struggles.
Yeah, and well, and he's laughing, because it's a self-defense mechanism. He wants to try to dismiss it that way. It's not as real, which I don't blame him for that. But we do care about him. We want the best for him, and I feel like the public should know that so they can help help keep them on track as well.
How would you suggest that the general public help?
Well, just whenever you're saying stuff, and then just tell you like that you're wrong.
So so the goal is just to have more people tell me I'm wrong.
Yes, I know that's like your favorite thing.
I would like to call all of our listeners' attention to the several different times that Aaron discussed how he enjoys gaslighting people. So do with that
I see that's the
information what
memory
you will.
issues. That's the memory issues. He also forms false memories where he misremembers conversations previously had and then applies his own
Yeah.
agenda to them. It's
Well,
actually quite manipulative behavior.
fair. I mean, after you guys are done listening to this episode, I suggest you listen to the first episode with Juanita, and we'll sort out who's got amnesia. But yeah. Wow, you have totally derailed me, and I
It's almost like you have amnesia or something. I'm glad you're able to laugh about it.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Otherwise, what is life without whimsy? Um,
Or
but
memory.
or memory. Oh, it's just living every day like it's your first, I guess. So, uh, yeah, Aaron, you make it sound like I'm gonna like go out for a pack of cigarettes and they're gonna find me in Utah 3 weeks later, just like I'm looking for my house.
Oh my.
We never know.
I suppose we don't, but there's a low probability of that happening.
That's
Uh,
why they have the GPSs in those response vehicles. They're like,
yeah,
oh, we need to know where he is.
right, right. I was saddened to find out that our cameras don't record audio because I've had some very funny conversations with those cameras. I mean,
I was not saddened to find that out.
yeah, he was relieved. But Dan, your cameras have audio, correct?
They do. They do.
So
Do you
like,
ever like listen in on people?
No. No. God,
Well, that's
no.
a good
Number
political
one.
answer.
whenever Dan's the supervisor on, if I'm working, like I'll hit like the panic button and be like, "Dan's the worst," or like just like, just straight
Do you
like hit
remember? Well,
hit the button and insult him.
we just switched to those new ones, and they're not as bad about it, but those ones we had before where, like, you'd take
Oh
a
my
bite
god!
and it would be,
Yeah,
like, distracted,
yeah,
distracted. Oh my, I would just yell into the thing, or, like, you
yeah.
would yawn, and
Uh,
it'd be like, oh, just it would let you know everything. We have had some humorous catches, though, with incidents, like, and I
yeah.
will absolutely throw them under the bus, but, like, when Tom and Amanda, that
Oh my
telephone
god, that was
pole
hilarious. I
was
mean, it.
sticking that, so this telephone pole like broke off and was just hanging down, like, you know how when you're driving the medic unit, like your field of view is not above you, and they absolutely pegged this telephone pole, launched it across the road, and all you see is like they both like stop, stare at each other, and Amanda just goes full mom mode on
Yeah,
Tom, like just unloads. And what did you hit? What did you hit? Screaming at him. I mean, it absolutely totaled the truck. I mean, it absolutely destroyed the box. It hit so hard it blew the side door open. If that gives you any kind of like perspective, but like the audio and video on that one, and they've watched it, and like we've all got a good chuckle out of it. But
yeah,
oh man,
that was good.
so funny with that one. That was great. But
Yeah,
So you don't ever like make somebody mad and go, I'm gonna listen to them in the ambulance and see if they're
no,
talking smack.
no, no. If you want
Have
to
you
talk,
considered it?
I
I
have
mean,
not, because it's too much of a pain in the ass to find the right time and then like review the time frame and go back and whatever else. But now that is, if you want to talk smack, feel free. I will gladly entertain that conversation anytime.
I mean,
And
I will
I
call
take
you up and just like
I
talk
definitely
shit to
take
you.
joy in showing why I'm right. If I am right, if I screw up, or if I'm wrong about something,
Yeah,
I'll own it. And
I
yeah.
they've had
believe
some.
the term for that is righteous indignation.
Oh, well.
Good
but
luck then. Now we know.
but yeah, no. I mean, and I do think like the cameras are a hot topic. Like while we're
Yeah,
on it, we'll just talk about it. Um, you know, it was crazy. When I worked in Indiana County, like the camera system that they had was forward facing, inward facing in the cab. There was one out the back of the truck, so you could like see when someone rear-ended you. And there was also one in the patient compartment behind the
yeah.
airway seat. And I think, you know, more often than not, and this is my stance on the camera. It's just like, if there's an incident, I want to review it. Like, if you get
Yeah.
hit, you're in an accident, patient attacks somebody, somebody jumps out and runs across Route 8, like, for sure you catch an accident on it. I want to look at it. Or if there's like a verifiable complaint, I think that's a fair time to take a look. Um,
Yeah.
but otherwise, like, I don't see value in spending hours like reviewing footage to find that like one time where like maybe you picked up your phone to silence it,
Yeah.
or you know, like, it just, you know, it doesn't make any sense to me. So that's, I mean, that's my stance. They're going to save you more often than not. I mean, I loved the conversations we used to have where like people would accuse us of like running a red light, you know, or something, and
Yeah.
you'd look at the footage and be like, are you sure that we ran a red light? Because
Yeah.
the camera, oh, you know, like, then they like immediately step back and
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that's where I stand on it. I don't think it's, I mean, it could definitely be utilized in a negative way.
Yeah.
But I don't, I mean, my personal perspective is, you
Yeah.
know, verifiable incident, complaint, take a look, something happens bad, you know, it's
Yeah.
worthwhile.
I
So,
got my
Yeah.
first complaint the other day.
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, you did.
I
Were you
did.
bad?
Yeah.
Welcome
No.
to EMS, buddy.
I've done a lot of questionable, reprehensible, insert your description here, things that I should have gotten complaints about. Like, definitely, like, I'm not perfect. But this call, I didn't do anything. And then somebody complained. And I was like, what the heck?
That's
That's
So
always
so
then
how
I
it works out, buddy. Like,
so
you'll
then
get
they
away
were
with
demanding
nonsense, but
they were demanding to talk to a manager, which I am a supervisor, and the manager was like not in the office. So I was like, you know what? If this needs to go to him, we'll do that. But I have a feeling that this is a fake complaint. So I called the lady back and just, like never told her that I was the person on the call that she was complaining about, and just like listened to her describe the whole thing, and like she's just like making stuff up. Said we took 20 minutes to get there. I was like, well, and she used to be a paramedic for,
of
seven,
course,
8 years. Yeah.
of course.
And she was like, it took them 20 minutes to get there. And I was like, really? Because the CAD here, which is verifiable with timestamps and radio like transmissions that are able to be replayed, says 7 minutes. So not 20 minutes. Um, she
Boy,
was saying a bunch of crazy stuff. It was wild.
off
Describing it
by
as
nearly
horrific.
200%.
Right. Like, she was describing the scene as horrific, and like I was like, so how would you do it differently? And every time that like I would say that, she would like not be able to give me a sufficient answer to like what was like horrible and horrific about it. I was like, so do we think maybe we're using some words that might be a bit, dramatic? She was like, well, I see that after like 15 minutes, she's like, I see that this isn't going anywhere.
yeah.
She's like, so I'm gonna file the reports, that I need to do, and I've got 5 witnesses. It was in the rain. There wasn't 5 witnesses. Nobody was standing around outside like on this call.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm gonna file, the reports that I need to. I was like, well, that's great because the crew told me, I was the crew. The crew told me that
And you talk to
the
yourself, so it's accurate.
that the service medical director was at the emergency room that received that patient. The patient had no complaints about anything that happened. The medical director was like, "Oh yeah, you guys did fine," and he's the service medical director and also the medical director for the region. So enjoy filing your complaint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's usually how it goes. It's like somebody just gets a wild hair up their ass, and like they feel the need to just, I don't know what it is, like impose themselves upon, like, over you, or it's
Yeah.
crazy to me. And so often that, like, those are the people that complain. It's not
Yeah.
Yeah,
like, oh, they came in here and they were swearing at us and they threw a
Yeah.
monitor across the house. It's like they
Yeah.
did everything right. It's just somebody feels the need to
Yeah.
impose themselves.
Oh yeah, I saw this, and I am hoping it was satire, but it was like, you know, I'm a brand new CNA, and I stopped at an accident, and the paramedics wouldn't listen to me. How do I inform them that I outrank them because I work in a hospital?
Oh
It's
my gosh.
everybody's like, either lighting them up or being like, "Well, just go over and remind them that you outrank them," and all this stuff, and like. But like it how often do you see that? Like, and I'm guilty of that too. to an extent. Like I'll be driving by a scene. Like I was driving down the road the one day and I saw someone doing a standing takedown on a backboard, and I was like, was driving my wife and I was like, "What the heck are these clowns doing? Like, we haven't done that in 10 years. Like, what is this nonsense on the
Well,
side of the road that I'm now like," and I'm
you
like,
wanna know how old school that is, Fior? Is when you said standing takedown, like, I know what you mean, but the first thing I thought to myself was just, like, a paramedic coming from behind doing, like, an RKO on a patient. Like,
yeah, no, that is what I meant. What did you think?
oh, okay.
Oh,
Glad we're on
yeah,
the same
yeah.
page.
No, but like I could very easily be that douche that just calls in to their supervisor. I saw them do this. I'm like, I don't know. Like if I see something like egregiously wrong in the field, like I'm gonna talk to that person, and then if they like either do it again or basically just are completely unreceptive to it, and I think it's something that's going to get a patient killed, I may then talk to their supervisor, but I would only do so in a professional capacity. Like it would be like, "Hey, Dan, when I was on, the squad, I noticed your, paramedic X do this thing." Like, I'm not going to try to do it behind some veiled, like, I'm a paramedic, but I'm not telling you where or when. Like, listen, here's the call, here's what happened, and like, I think if you're going to make a complaint about patient care things, like, you have to legitimize your point of view. Like, hey, I was a paramedic 7 years ago. Cool. Do you know how much has changed in 7 years, first of all?
Years. Yep.
Like, second of
And
all, like, okay, where were you a paramedic? What's your numbers? What's your like affiliation? There's no like, no validation of who you are. So like, if you're going to make a complaint and it's founded, I think you need to absolutely identify who you are and why I should listen to you. You know what I mean?
and I can say, like, just from numerous experiences, if someone's calm when they call and they explain the situation, like, listen, like they were really nice, but I'm concerned about this, or I feel like this was done incorrectly, or whatever. If someone calls in and they have that conversation, it's a lot easier to like want to discuss it and look at the chart and like say like, listen, let me get your name, get your phone number. I want to talk to the crew. Like I'll follow up with you. When somebody calls in and they just unload, um, almost immediately, I just disregard you. It's so hard to take a person like that seriously.
Well, because it's coming strictly from a place of emotion and no logic, no like rationality. Like I don't know, like Aaron, if you'd have done something egregiously wrong, I think you know me well enough because he called me as like, did I do something wrong? But he tells me the whole story. Like I would have been like, yeah, no, you screwed the pooch on this one, bud. But like,
Right.
it's like you're right. People just like they lose their minds over some like perceived, you know, wrong that you've done because it's not how they would have done it. And
I
again,
don't even think it's that. I think it's that people just really love to think that they're right about something. Like, I
Yes.
don't think it's that they're adamant that somebody else is wrong. It's just that the means to the end of being correct about something is that somebody else has to be wrong so I can be right. And so you have to be adamant that somebody else messed something up for you to go, oh, look at how good I am at stuff.
Yeah. The
yeah,
self-importance, like I'm,
Hmm.
I'm injecting myself into this situation and scenario because I'm
yeah,
important and I am right.
Right.
Crazy.
yeah. Meanwhile, Jeff, so I've in 23 years have come across different scenes and had to stay and wait for the crews to show up kind of thing. We came across a crash on 376 a year or two ago. And I was like, where the heck is the city? I just want them to get here so I can get the heck out of here. I don't want to be part of your scene. I just want to go. But like, I think that comes from probably doing it long enough that you're no longer like giddy to involve yourself in every little scene that arises.
Yeah.
I've
Yes.
only been doing it 4 years and everything that I can avoid.
Well, that's because you're a scumbag.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's different.
Correct.
There are definitely scenes that are appropriate to avoid.
Yeah.
There's some that are like, dude, like I get this is like a story, but I'll make it real brief.
You don't have to.
Memorial Day. Memorial Day years ago. This is still working at Citizens. I was living in Blairsville actually with my now wife, and we were going to a picnic at my sister's place in Shalakta, the big city of, and
The
right
big
in front of
city.
us, right in front of us, this motorcycle is like going through the intersection and this guy just turns right into him. And like it was so crazy because I like, we respond, we go after the fact. And this was like the first time that I saw like the major trauma take place. And I like watched this guy fly through the air and like he's spinning one way, his leg is spinning the other way. And I pulled right up on it, get out. This dude's bleeding out. Like put a tourniquet on his leg. It was mostly amputated. And I remember like I just did my thing. I called 911 instead of like I knew all the dispatchers, and instead of just being like, "Hey, it's Dan," I'm like, "Oh, this is paramedic Christy," like going off the rails about the whole thing. And on the other end, it's my buddy Adam, and he's like, "Hey, Dan, it's Lightcap. What do you need?" I was like, "A medic in a helicopter would be great."
Yeah.
And we end up taking care of this guy, but I'll never forget it. So morbid, so crazy. We take care of the guy, like give him to the crew. They take him away. And I go back to the car and Mel, my wife, is sitting in there and somehow she's got the heat on and the windshield wipers are just going and she is just in complete, utter, absolute shock and awe. So like, and it was nuts. And
That's
we
when
ended
she
up
knew
going to
she wanted to marry you, buddy.
well, it might have
Seeing you
been.
as a
I don't know. We go
superhero.
to this picnic and I'm like getting a burger and some hot dogs, right? And she's like, I'm like, "Do you want a burger or anything?" She's like, "I'll have fruit." And like that was like totally well, I will never forget that. I mean, thankfully the guy was all right. I mean, it was a pretty bad accident, but as far as humor goes, just her losing her mind, witnessing everything, and then like even hours, well, not even hours, like a half an hour later, like it's time to eat, and she just
Yeah.
wouldn't do it. Like
Oh,
she
yeah.
needed fruit, and
Yeah.
but
The amount of attitude I would have given you as a dispatcher whenever you called in was like, Paramedic Christy, I'd have been like, okay, Paramedic Christy.
oh, that was I don't know, whenever he was like, "Hi, Dan, it's Adam." I'm like, "Jeez, oh
Yeah.
man,
Well, that's what you needed, I think, because it
yo, yeah,
got you out of your
yeah,
head. But have you ever
yep,
seen Tom Segura's bit about when his wife fell down a flight of stairs or whatever and broke her leg?
no,
He's like, I was like, oh yeah, so amped up, I had to call 911. Like I called him, like, do you need police, fire, medics? He's like, send everybody, and he's like freaking out.
So,
He does a much better job at it. But like, look that clip up. That is what I envisioned when you just told me this.
oh, that's
so,
probably
so,
like,
So Dan, I've done the same thing where I was like, "Oh, it's a paramedic," but I did it in an opposite situation where like it was a Christmas Eve service this past year, and some lady passed out, right? And so there's a bunch of everybody there that's ever heard the word healthcare before is ever trying to help this woman,
Yeah.
and I'm like watching what's happening. I'm like, I'm probably gonna go, you know, do something about this, right? And so I go over and like you know how it is, like just most people like have even if they're a healthcare, like there was PAs and stuff there, but like if you don't work in an emergency setting, like the type of assessment that you do is just like it's foreign to most people. So a lot of people just kind of like let me start doing the thing, right? But I was like, okay, has anybody called 911? Things were stable, like we did not need to be.
yeah,
She passed out, syncopal episode. She's got a pulse. She's breathing, all that stuff. They're like, yeah. And I was like, we have them on the
The
phone
big
right now.
important things are all sorted out.
Right, right. Um, so like I get the phone and I was like, hey, this is like paramedic Andrews. Like what did you guys what all were you told? And they were like, we have an echo response for a cardiac arrest going to your I was like, please tell the incoming crew to like lower their response. Like we are eh, very stable here.
oh,
To be
But I
fair,
did say that I did do the
yeah.
title drop of all paramedics. So that way they didn't know it was just some dude there like, oh yeah, no, things are great here.
Well,
she's
I
taking a
know,
night.
like I've called in like crashes before, something that I've come across, and I'll identify myself as like an off-duty paramedic for AHN or whatever. Like, hey, I'm an off-duty paramedic. This is what I have. That way, they like same thing. Like when
They
I'm
give some
like,
credence.
yeah. Also, though, like I had a crash where there's like there was one of the occupants was DOA. Another one had like an amputated toe, and then the other dude was like in and out of consciousness. So like I feel like me identifying myself as a paramedic, kind of like you said, like adds like a level of like, oh, well, so we for sure should probably send multiple ambulances to this because there's at least two viable patients, right? But if like I'm calling, I'm like, oh my God, there's blood everywhere, everyone's dead. Kind of like the complaint thing. They're like, all right, so this is going to be an Omega response for a
Yeah.
crash with containment. Like it's like,
I I love the mentality of the people who are like driving by a scene and there's like, I'm gonna call 911 and report it, and then they're just like, they just keep driving.
They just
and
keep
it,
Like,
going.
yeah,
They're like, yeah, there's a wreck.
yeah,
The caller's not on scene. Like, how are they not on scene? Like, they just described a war zone and they left. Like, what are
yeah,
they doing?
yeah.
or the people who refuse to do CPR, like for
Yeah.
anything other than like a medical inability.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I love the when they you get dispatched for something, it's unknown age, unknown gender, unknown. I'm like,
Problem. Yeah.
where did the caller call this in from? Like, how,
What do we know?
yeah, like like we don't know how old they are. We don't know their gender. We don't know what the problem is. Like, what exactly should I be
Spurred
looking
that
for?
phone
Yeah.
call on. Like, I think I should call 911 today.
Yeah, or like a vehicle accident, unknown amount of vehicles. You roll up, it's two. You couldn't count to two. Like, I get it if it's like a pile up on the interstate, but like it's two vehicles that rear-ended each other on a side street. You couldn't
Yeah.
count that high.
And,
Like,
and, and they literally need like a police incident number.
yeah,
That's it.
uh, dude. So out in the eastern suburbs of Pittsburgh, there's a couple services that will like chase patients down. You know what I mean? Like they'll get called for a crash. They'll pull up and like, they're like, yeah, no, we're good. Don't know who called you. We're good. And then they'll like start taking off and they're like, Caddy, we're in pursuit of a hit and run, bro. Like, I don't think that's what's actually happening. Like there was one time,
They just don't want to talk to you. Like,
yeah, they
that's
don't
all
want a bill
it is.
from you. And they know that the second they give you their address, a bill's showing up. So,
Yes.
and
Yep.
they didn't call. So like, I get it. I wouldn't want to talk to you either, you know? But dude, there was this one time they saw a hit and run or something, and they were literally pursuing them to the point where the dispatcher's like, "Hey, I've already given this to the cops, so if like you really want to join the pursuit, head over to East PD 5, but I need you to clear this channel for EMS dispatches." Dude, I laughed so hard at that, hearing that on there, because
Oh
if
my.
if you ever like if you're ever down at Shaler Hampton, you'll be able to get the frequency, but like take a listen to the East Zone. It's wild, the stuff
That's what
that
I've
they
heard.
say over there. It's crazy. Like one of the dispatchers called somebody on the radio the Glizzy Commander because he's well known for his love of Sheetz hot dogs.
My gosh.
Yeah. I was like, that is impressive. I absolutely impressive. So, but like, eh, you don't get that on the North Zone.
No, you don't. There, it's pretty cut and dry. Every once in a while, there's a usually on the police channel though, like it's like a good little dig at
Yeah.
somebody or something. But yeah,
Yeah.
North is pretty cut and dry, down to business. That's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I mean, that's good. That's good. That's not bad for
We
sure.
started using 10 codes to annoy our dispatchers. There's like one dispatcher who like told one of our EMTs they knew like had a funeral, like, hey, just so you know, you're not supposed to use 10 codes. Like that's for law enforcement only. So then he proceeded to tell everybody that our service to use 10 codes. So like sometimes I'll say like how much I can say without actually saying like real words.
Yeah.
So like the other day I had a refusal, and I was like, County 1203 is going to be 10-8 with an NPT. There's like as few like actual like spelled out words as possible.
I love that. I love that for
Oh,
them. Although I will say, like 99.9% of what we do, we don't need 10 codes. And I used to get so confused because we used to use 10 codes all the time in Allegheny County. Like it was just,
10-4.
yeah, like you were never clear. You were 10-8. Like you were never on scene. You were 10-90. And it's just like, it made getting into the job so much harder trying to remember these stupid codes that I understand why a lot of law enforcement uses codes because there's certain things they don't want to put out on the radio. But I mean, I don't know. I just I think it made it difficult. Maybe because I'm an idiot. That's also a possibility, but not a
It might
huge
be the
fan of them.
amnesia.
Might be. Yeah. I'm just not remembering them. But
Further evidence.
yeah, speaking of forgetting things, so in Allegheny County, you call the dispatch county. In Butler County, you call them either Butler or Butler Control or something like that. There's one dispatcher that gets super pissy if you accidentally call him county, but
Yeah.
like it's literally just one. The rest don't care. Like they'll
Is
just
it Taylor?
copy. No, it's not Taylor.
Dude, there was a kid that came back, I should say, came back to Citizens at the time whenever I was still there from Allegheny County.
Yeah,
Uh, he would get on the radio and be like, County Medic 21. And finally the one dispatcher's like, what county are you calling? Like, oh man, it was a pretty good exchange. That ended the county thing. Uh,
yeah,
which I mean, I guess I get it up here. Like, you could be calling Armstrong, Westmoreland, Indiana, like
yeah.
whatever.
I get. I mean, so well, the one guy gave me crap when he's like, "We're Butler Control." I'm like, "Well, you still answered, didn't you?"
You still,
But then, like when he's on now, like there's like a bunch of us that will shoot text around, like, "Oh, it's this dude. Like, let's mess with him." So like we'll call him radio all shift,
my gosh.
which oh, that incenses this guy. It's like, why are you calling me radio? You know? And he's like flipping out at the dispatch center. And usually if like Taylor's there or one of the other guys will be like, dude is losing his mind right now. I'm like, yes. So,
Oh man.
you gotta have fun sometimes on this
You
job,
do.
right? You
I
know?
100%, and I know you know Sean, that I used to work
I've met
with.
him, yeah.
Yeah, so, I we always used to say, like, it's great, like, have fun, carry on, screw around, but, like, whenever the call comes in, like, you better be down to business, be professional, and
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
you wanna hang out and screw around and have fun and joke, that's great, like, keep your day happy, but as soon as the call comes in, just switch gears and go, and that's kinda like what
Yeah.
we always lived by. We were horrible to each other so many
Yeah.
times,
Some of the
yeah,
pranks
it's
that
a
you
fun
guys have
time.
told us about, I'm like, "Wow, y'all are savages." But
Yeah, there were some really savage things that we used to do. Oh, it was always fun. You never knew what you were getting into. So,
yeah,
but,
well, he had told me once, like, somebody took all of the, like, slats, the support slats out of
well, that
the
was a
top
common
bunk,
thing. Yeah, top
and,
bunk, yeah, station 10, yeah.
like,
Yep,
he
they would take the
started getting the
slats out
bunk.
to sleeve the mattress in.
Bam!
You'd climb in or you'd come back from a call. Like, I came back from a call one night, we got crushed all day. I come back and, like, I just wanna, like, dive into my bunk, and I just hit a wall of Saran wrap. So, like, they Saran wrapped the whole bed, and, like, I had to, like, peel my way into it, so I'm like, "Oh, thank God I can lay down," and then I, like, put my head down, and my pillow is Saran wrapped. Like, that just hilarious. Like, nobody ever got hurt really, just kinda, like,
Except
somebody
the poor soul on the bottom bunk.
yeah,
Right.
well, yeah, so like, you'd get up and leave in the middle of the night, and somebody felt the need to get out of bed to, like,
Yeah.
Saran wrap your bunk. It was
Yeah,
so much fun. So,
I wouldn't have that much energy in the middle of the night. I'd be like,
no,
"Well,
no.
well."
I'm not up.
For
Click pager and go
for
back to sleep.
shenanigans, I absolutely would.
Yeah,
I have more energy for shenanigans than for emergency calls at 2 a.m.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
man.
Um, right on. Well, before we get out of here, a couple other questions for you. Um, what advice would you give to anybody that is thinking about getting into this field as a career?
I would tell them, um, do it because I think we need providers, but at the same time, like, be sure. Maybe go do some ride-alongs, and not just at your local service. Go explore, and maybe go somewhere rural. Maybe go, come to Shaler. Maybe go to a place that does some rescue work. Maybe the city's the right choice for you. But then I think once you decide, like, you kind of know. I think if it's for you or not for you, I know for me, I like got the bug to say the least
Yeah.
whenever I was an EMT, and then like I kind of knew this is what I wanted to do. Um, but you know, just stick with it. If you're going through the programs and you're getting your medic and whatever, you know, just stay focused, get the work done, put your time in, you'll be successful.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not, and I also think that a new person needs to know it's not all like guts and glory at all.
Yeah.
You know, so much of this job is sometimes we're social workers, sometimes we're someone to talk to, sometimes we're problem solvers, and sometimes we do treat serious medical stuff. And but I think that, you know, if someone's going to make the commitment, you got to make the commitment. You can't just do it because you think it's going to be fun. It is fun,
Yeah.
but you've got to stay educated, stay trained up, talk to people, have conversations, discuss calls, like all those things. It's all part. It's definitely. I think EMS was this. I don't think want to say it was a surprise to me, but it has just been a continuous learning process from day one.
Yeah.
And if you don't learn and you don't feel like you're still getting excited, then maybe it's time to
Yeah.
move on. You know, but
Absolutely.
that would be my advice, you know, and definitely go out and see what's out there.
Yeah.
Find the agency that fits for you. Find the schedule that works for you, and advocate for it once you find
Yeah.
the right place.
Absolutely. And like to your point there is so many different pathways within EMS. You know, like even if, like you said, there's some services that, you know, focus on some rescue stuff, some services on rural, urban, suburban, everything in between. And then there's like like traditional stuff. There's the community paramedics, there's the pre-hospital coordinators and the education specialists and you know, and then there's helicopters, there's fixed wing, there's just so many different avenues out there. So like I agree, man. Explore, find the one that fits you.
Yeah, and I've
And
even told people, you know, I did a lot of like the presentations at our schools up here in little old Armstrong in Indiana County, and and you know, like say like you want to be like the boss at the coal mines, or you want to be a manufacturer at the mine or wherever in the area, or over at the power plant. Like every one of those shifts has an EMT on it, you
yeah,
know. And that was one of the things I said. Like maybe you don't want to do EMS as a career, but you know maybe getting your EMT and going into those fields that maybe you want to work right after school. You know, right out of high school, and it's going to make you more attractive. You know, if you have it, so I think that's part of it too. I mean, I would love, and I think we are getting there. I would love to see EMS as like everybody that comes into it, it's going to be their career. You can
yeah,
retire right out of it, you know. But
yeah,
Pennsylvania's strange. It's very strange whenever you like start comparing it to southern states and some western states, and you know, it's set up in such a different way. But that's like a whole
yeah,
totally different conversation. But yeah,
yeah. I
I would
Dan,
agree.
say do it.
I would like to refute something you said. You said that being an EMT will make you more attractive, and I just think statistically speaking, that is not the case.
I think you're probably right about that.
I disagree.
More attractive to the
I th-
employer. How's that? Is that
Oh, okay. As a resume builder, gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think that maybe you're both wrong. I think that it will make you, you know, more aesthetically
Here's the
pleasing.
amnesia.
You know,
It keeps just bearing his head.
putting that NREMT or the NRP at the end of your signature just makes you so much more
Feels good.
attractive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
The
Gotta
opposite.
hire that guy.
Well, it
Yeah.
certainly gives you some confidence
Yeah.
and a discount at fast food joint.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, where was I? I don't remember. Somebody's like, "Don't we get a discount on this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm paying full price and leaving because now I'm embarrassed of
Now
you.
I'm embarrassed and you
Why
can
would
shut up.
you ask? That is insane."
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, right on. I really liked your answer there. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
And you know, is there anything coming up for you or anything like that that you want to plug, get out there, or any just special message you want to relay to the people that tune in? Our platform's your platform, buddy. If there's
Yeah.
anything you need to get out there.
Just maybe a couple things. Like one in general thing. You know, at your service, if you're working on things, or you know you feel like you don't have a project, find something that like you're passionate about and you want to do it. and find out how that improves your service and your patient care and the image of your organization. Right now, I mean, this the only reason it comes to mind for me with this one is the new Prepared for Pediatrics, for example. I had a meeting yesterday with Marissa, and we started putting together this education because there's new requirements and new things we got to do, and I look at that, and it's not just her at Shaler Hampton. There's so many people that contribute in different ways, and
Yeah.
I see like that passion in people, and they bring that then to the organization, and then they're able to improve the organization as a whole. And I think do that for yourself. If you feel like you're at a place that's maybe stagnant and not willing to kind of change or whatever, find something it's free for the most part, except for like for this one, obviously like new background checks, you're going to pay for those, but yet you should have them anyways. But I would say that uh, I would find your passion and stick with it in EMS. And then just sort of side notes: if you're not an EMS provider, learn CPR and don't be afraid to do it.
Yeah.
I'm involved with a pretty cool organization called Run with Heart Foundation, based out of Katanning, nonprofit. I don't do a ton with them. I kind of provide some guidance on their board for different things and different approaches to stuff. And then I'll go teach CPR with them. But their mission has been to provide it for free, or for donations. So they do fundraisers. They have a 5K coming up here in October. So if you feel passionate about it, and that's really what it was that my sister was in with the group for quite a while. Um, they were running a marathon and the guy collapsed. They're all nurses, so they all know CPR. They take care of the guy. They do CPR till EMS gets there. They zap him. The guy lives. Now the guy's on the board with us. They actually have a few
Nice.
people. Yeah, they actually have a few people that have suffered sudden cardiac arrest that now teach with them. So find a class, learn something, learn first aid, learn CPR, or volunteer if you're trained to instruct and make a difference.
Yeah.
Especially where you're going to wait for an ambulance in a lot of places in Pennsylvania. So if you want to give somebody a good chance and a good outcome, do that.
I mean, even if the ambulance is across the street, the sooner you
Yeah,
get CPR started, the better chance
it
that
better.
person has of living.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
I don't think how long you have to wait should matter. Get started learning, man.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. But otherwise, no, I think that's it. Thanks for having me,
Yeah.
and I would
Yeah.
love to come back and talk sometime if you got a specific topic. And
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I
We like
guess
to talk about amnesia.
oh, wait, what's
I can't remember what that is. But Dan, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming on. And thank you for the consult.
absolutely.
Um, but it was great talking with you, both of you guys. And like you said, we'll for sure have to have you back on. Um, but Aaron, any last parting words for you today, buddy?
Bye, Dan.
Thank you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you guys for hanging out with us again this week. And if you know somebody that you think we should be talking to on here, have them reach out. Thanks for the consult at gmail.com. And we'll see you guys next week.
And Rainn Wilson get